The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is brought to you by Clinica Sierra Vista. Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
And good morning here at 5 a.m. Thanks for waking up with us. I'm Maddie Jansen alongside Alex Fisher.
There continues to be an uneasy tension in Washington this morning following a day of memorials and difficult memories, a year after the deadly attack on the U.S. Capitol. A day that included President Biden's harshest rebuke of former President Trump since the insurrection. Words that struck a chord on both sides of Capitol Hill. Jay Gray is in Washington, D.C. this morning with a closer look at the fallout.
Good morning, Alex. He never mentioned his predecessor by name, but President Biden made it very clear he blames Mr. Trump not only for the attack on the Capitol a year ago, but for a lingering political divide both here in Washington and across the country.
My country, 'tis of thee.
Overnight, candles and prayers on the steps of the Capitol.
Help us to be instruments of your peace, instruments of your love, and instruments of your healing.
The scars a year later still deep. The memories for survivors still overwhelming.
Ducking, crawling under, over railings, hands, knees, the sounds, the smells. We had a front row seat to what lies, hate, or plain old misinformation conjures.
Not allow no one to place a dagger at the throat of democracy.
Speaking from Statuary Hall, an area overrun by the angry mob that day, President Biden forcefully blames former President Trump for the insurgents and partisan divide that remain.
His bruised ego matters more to him than our democracy or our Constitution. He can't accept he lost.
Mr. Trump responding in a series of written statements, criticizing President Biden taking a swipe at the congressional investigation of the attack, and once again falsely claiming the 2020 election was stolen, calling the events of the day political theater. But clearly, the moments of silence and memorials here, the emotions, the painful memories of those lost, for many, are anything but an act. Investigations by a congressional select committee and the FBI are continuing. More than 700 people have been arrested over the last year, and that number is expected to grow. In Washington, Jay Gray, 17 News.
Meantime, a handful of community members came together in Delano to remember those who lost their lives during and after the Capitol riot. Event organizers who gathered at Delano City Hall called the vigil "The Voters Decide the Election." This comes after Capitol Police Officer Brian Sicknick died from wounds he sustained from the mob, while 4 other officers died of suicide in the days and months after.
It was a complete overthrow of our democratic values of a nation, and we're here as Allowed for Tomorrow and with 300 other groups across the country to stand up and demand democracy from the U.S. Senate and President Biden to protect our freedom to vote.
We have a few lights, a few little candles for them that, we want to light in honor of them and the courage that they had, protecting the Capitol.
4 people in the crowd also died during the events of January 6th.
In your 17 Crime Watch this morning, Bakersfield police are investigating a shooting that ended with the arrest of 6 teenagers. This happened on Tuesday afternoon at around 3 p.m. on Oleander Avenue near Cherry Street. Officers responded to a shot spotter activation there and found several shell casings in the area. Police say the teens opened fire on a car driving down Oleander and then ran to a home on nearby Holtby Road. The 6 teens range in age from 14 to 17 years old. It is unknown if anyone was hit by the gunfire.
Meantime, the search continues this morning for a wanted man considered armed and dangerous. Police say 19-year-old Christian Gaines and 2 others are accused of shooting and killing Justin Anthony Griffin Jr. back on November 3rd near the corner of Weibel Road and Plans Road in southwest Bakersfield. Police arrested Dimitri King and David Gray in connection with the shooting, but Gaines has still not been found. If you see him, do not approach him. Call 911.
5:06 is our time now, and the community is invited to attend the funeral services today for 2 siblings who were killed by a suspected impaired driver as they stood at a street corner.
19-year-old J.J. Malone and his 10-year-old sister Kaylee Brown were struck and killed by a car last month on Panama Lane near South 8th Street. The driver, Lisa Kaur, is suspected of being under the influence at the time of the crash. The service for Malone and Brown is being held this morning at 10 a.m. at Canyon Hills Church on Auburn Street in Northeast Bakersfield.
Today is the deadline for Bakersfield residents to apply to serve on the Measure In Oversight Committee. The deadline was initially slated for Wednesday, but was extended. During the 3-year term, committee members will review revenue generated by Measure In and make spending recommendations. Applicants must be at least 18 years old and a resident of Bakersfield. Those interested can apply at the city clerk's office on Truxton Avenue or on the city's website at bakersfieldcity.us.
A local organization is working to spread the word about important resources for our vets. Hope for Our Heroes, it says its mission is to be a centralized source of veteran organizations and resources in Kern County. The Garlic Company, a Ford Dream Builders team, was at the Elks Lodge for yesterday's Honor Flight breakfast, distributing Hope for Our Heroes pamphlets to those in attendance.
Veterans specifically, not just homeless veterans. Veterans need help. Their families need help finding them sources and places that can help them. So we're here to help veterans help themselves.
To learn more about the organization, you can visit the Portrait of a Warrior Gallery and the Kern County Veterans Services Department. And now to the latest on the coronavirus pandemic. 6 health experts who initially advised President Biden on America's COVID response say it's time to change direction.
It comes as many hospitals are again reaching capacity. NBC's Tom Costello reports.
The message from leading pandemic experts writing in the Journal of the American Medical Association: COVID-19 is here to stay, and the country needs to adapt to a new normal since vaccines and infections don't seem to offer lifelong immunity. That means treating COVID like other respiratory viruses.
We have to reorient our goal so that we get it to a manageable state and we can continue with our normal life while COVID's around, just like we do with flu.
The call for a new strategy comes as confirmed cases are at an all-time high, driven by Omicron. Hospitals nationwide swamped with patients, most unvaccinated, say their frontline doctors and nurses are under tremendous stress.
We're just beyond exhausted, depleted, and we're asking for your grace and understanding while in the hospital.
Oxygen's not enough, the ventilator's not enough, and they require ECMO, and they're laying in bed for months, for weeks to months.
It's just been a lot of uncertainty, and I'm tired.
Meanwhile, pediatric COVID hospitalizations are at an all-time high, most involving unvaccinated children. For children under 5, a croup-like cough is often a sign of Omicron infection. In the ICU at Colorado Children's Hospital, a third of the cases are COVID admissions.
Kids, like adults, are catching it just as quickly and bringing huge numbers of children to our emergency departments.
That was Tom Costello reporting. Meantime, here at home, children at every public and charter K-12 school in Kern County will soon have the chance to take home an at-home testing kit. And this is coming just as students return to the classroom. 17's Chris Burton joins us in studio this morning with more. Chris?
Well, Maddie, the superintendent of schools office confirms to 17 News that they have received 195,000 kits from the state. Those kits containing 2 tests each. Those kits will start to go out to students. They started to go out to students yesterday. Results are given in only 30 minutes. This ensures that every single student has access to testing if they begin to show symptoms or if they want to ensure a safe return.
Parents are understanding that the district is making every effort and using multiple layers, mitigating measures to keep our school environment safe. I think we are very surprised, coming back, from this holiday season, with this new Omicron variant. It is very contagious, highly contagious.
Like always, officials urge common sense. If students have symptoms, it is best to isolate for about 10 days. That's what several districts here are recommending. Positive results must be reported to schools. And for more information on how schools will be distributing those test kits and how to find instructions on how to administer the tests, you can head to our website, kget.com. There you can also find a list of locations where you can get a COVID-19 test. In studio, Chris Burton, 17 News.
All right, Chris, thanks so much. Now, consumers are being warned to watch out for fake at-home COVID-19 testing kits. The Federal Trade Commission says scammers are taking advantage of the short supply. The FDA has posted a similar warning. That agency says always make sure any tests are FDA approved. They recommend doing some research before buying or try to get them from your healthcare provider. It is now evident coronavirus ran rampant during the holidays. More than 4,200 people alone have been infected with COVID-19 since Christmas. That includes 896 people who learned yesterday they were positive for the virus. We also learned 4 more people have died from COVID-19, bringing our death toll to 1,922 lives lost. Hospitalizations continue to slowly increase, with 151 people admitted with more severe symptoms. 32 more are in the ICU.
And Kern County has earned yet another dubious distinction, joining the ranks of several Central Valley counties with high death rates from COVID-19. Data analysts at Stacker have compiled a list ranking deaths from COVID-19 within California counties, focusing on cumulative deaths per 100,000 people. Out of 50 counties, Kern had the 14th highest death rate, with about 11% more deaths per 100,000 people compared to the rest of the state. Conservative-leaning counties in the Central Valley round out most of the top 20, including Fresno and Tulare counties. Though it's worth noting, Los Angeles County took the number 3 spot with just over 43% more deaths per 100,000 people. Imperial County at the Mexican border took the top spot with nearly 128% more deaths per 100,000. Welcome back here at 541. It might not come as a surprise to dog owners that they can distinguish real words from nonsense words, but a new study finds they can also recognize different languages. Hungarian scientists studied 18 dogs who were trained to lay motionless in a brain scanner while hearing speech excerpts in different languages. The results showed that some areas of the pup's brains lit up differently depending on whether the dog was hearing words from a familiar language or a different one. The dogs also appeared to recognize their owner's native language based on how it sounds overall. The authors say their study is the first to prove a non-human brain can differentiate 2 languages.
So you know how I was going to say, what do you like when you talk to your dog? We all have dog voices, right?
The only
Yes,
language
we
my
have
dog
dog voices
knows
and
is
baby
treat.
voices.
Yes. Treat?
Yeah, that's the language my dog knows.
Okay, but here's the question. Do you say, do you want a treat? Or do you say, do you want a treat? Because that's the difference.
They learn the inflection of your voice, I think.
Because
absolutely.
I have done, so my dog, Lucy, she loves to swim.
Right.
She loves to swim. And if I say, you want to go to swim? She will lose her mind because she wants to swim.
I wonder if she's listening
on the
right now.
coldest day, no, she is sound asleep right now, I can guarantee you. It can be the coldest day, she'll still swim.
Well, she's a lab.
But yes, but I have tried to say it in different inflections, like swim, swim, swim. I've also done, do you want to twim? Do you want to twim?
Yeah.
Not
everybody
saying
does
it.
that.
And sometimes it works. So I do think inflection and how we say it matters.
Yeah, inflection does work, but I think they do definitely know words, because I can't, when I'm talking on the phone to my nephew and I can say, yeah, I'm going to call grandma in a little bit. The dogs go crazy because they know grandma. Grandma and grandpa are coming, and they know grandma and grandpa are coming.
That's hilarious.
So if I say grandma or grandpa on the phone with anybody else, they start losing it because they think grandma and grandpa are there. So I think dogs do know words.
Well, they say they have a vocabulary if I think of 2 or a 3-year-old, like human child.
It's really impressive when you think of
that. It is, yeah, for sure.
All right, you got your dog talk of the morning here on Sunrise.
There'll be more of it too.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to kget.com.